Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of the Love Queendom. This is a space of love and joy and peace and abundance and all the good things. And here at the Love Queendom, we talk about spiritual ascension and how to create your own reality. And on today's episode, I wanted to talk about more differences between the 3D ego reality and the 5D love reality. Now, in the description of my last video about 3D versus 5D, I made the title the ego reality versus the love reality. And I was saying that the fifth dimensional reality is the love-based reality, but that's actually not true. Within each of these dimensions, there is really two different ways that you can choose to live. You can choose service to yourself, which is predominantly how people in the third dimension are living because they're living unconsciously, many of them. And also because a 3D existence is an existence of separation from source. So, and that is not really by choice. So in other words, you are in a state of energetic survival mode. So you have to be in service to self for the most part. Once you reach the fifth dimension where you become aware of your spiritual nature and that, you are actually creating your own reality, through your vessel, through your energetic state, etc. You actually have a choice as to what energy do you want to be creating your reality from. So you can still choose a service to self based existence in the fifth dimension. There are beings that do this, namely, the reptilians. Everybody knows about the reptilians, and not all reptilians, the evil ones that we know of. Okay, this is going into extraterrestrial stuff, but we're going to get into all of that on this on this platform, okay? But you can choose the negative path or the service to self path if you want to do that in the fifth dimension. It is much harder, but it is a path that you can choose to take. However, for the most part, once you ascend to that level of consciousness, you will typically choose to take the positive path, which I call service to the highest good of all. Some people call it service to others. The reason why I don't call it that is because when you say service to others, it makes it seem as if you are just constantly, living in the most selfless manner, and that you don't think about your own needs at all, which is not true. When you're in the fifth dimension, what you are actually, and you're doing it from a fifth dimension positive, let's say, you're actually living from a state where you're creating from what your spirit is guiding you towards, your higher self, whatever your higher self is guiding you to do, that is what you do. And when you follow that path, on the surface, it could look like you're doing things in service to yourself, but you're actually doing things in service to the highest good of all, because your higher self will always lead you towards your highest level timeline. And other people are impacted by the choices that you make. So you could be guided to do something that involves you maybe getting a certain type of job or moving to a different country or something. And again, those actions may look like they only impact you and they're only for your good, but you don't know, because once you reach the fifth dimension, you realize that you're energetically connected to everything. At that point, the decisions that you make, you become aware that they impact everyone around you. And there could be specific people that your choices are meant to impact for the greater good of them as well. So that is just a clarification that I wanted to make about, the fifth dimension being solely a positive place. It is not solely a positive place. The fifth dimension is just a state of consciousness or a state of awareness. It is basically just when you reach the state of knowing that you are a spiritual being having a physical experience, and the physical experience is temporary. Who you really are is an infinite spiritual being. You start learning how to control your vessel by managing your emotional state, your mind, and controlling your reality by controlling your energy. So this is what the fifth dimension is, basically. Now, another hallmark about the differences between the third dimension and the fifth dimension of consciousness that I wanted to touch on was that when you are living from the third dimension only, typically you are existing within a state of limitations. And that is because when you are in the third dimension and you're not aware that you can create anything, you're only able to create from the programs that you have. So if you are someone who has grown up in an environment, for example, where maybe you were poor and you had perhaps an abusive household and your parents were not very loving, or whatever, you didn't have the best environment in your formative years, these experiences will give you energetic programs, basically, because they form your beliefs about yourself. And that puts you in a particular energetic state. And it is from that state that you are creating your life. So you are unknowingly existing within a state of limitations without realizing it. And this is what the majority of people are living from. Even people that you see who are very successful or who are very wealthy and they live a really good life, many of these people are still living from their egoic selves. They're not aware that they actually are, a spiritual being having a human experience, and they kind of understand the energetic and multidimensional components about creating, in the physical space. Some of them have some knowledge of this, like you may find some people talk about the law of attraction and manifestation and that kind of thing, right? But again, even when you have conversations with these people about these kind of spiritual things, they're still looking at it from a 3D perspective. It's like, oh yeah, you can create anything with your thoughts, right? You can create anything with your mind, but they're not really having that perception that comes with being in the fifth dimension, where you feel and and you can perceive that this reality, you can kind of perceive the facade of this reality, essentially, right? And again, because you're fully aware, you're choosing what you want to create. You're aware of your energetic state. You're aware that everything that is appearing in your physical reality is based on the state you're in. You also become aware of other people too, and the state that they're in and why they behave the way they do, and etc. Right? So it's kind of different. So a lot of people who are very successful in the ego reality, in the 3D reality, they're able to do it because they have programs to do those things, unknown to them, right? Whether they got those programs from their childhood or it was just through sheer will and determination that they were able to convince themselves of something and go full force to achieve it. Which for many of these people, again, because when you're living from the 3D, it is also a reality where, you're doing, you're trying, you're forcing, right? So these people achieve through that kind of energy, through striving and trying hard. And because they're still determined to get there, they get there. But it's a reality where you have to try and you have to constantly be doing things in the physical in order to get to your destination or whatever you want to achieve, right? So it's a reality of limitations is basically the main thing that I wanted to highlight in this episode, is that when you're living from the 3D, because you're disconnected from the infinite source of everything, you're operating not from that awareness. You don't know that everything is actually possible for you to experience in this reality. And many people who are living in the 3D, they get discouraged a lot because we have desires, everyone has desires, and those desires are there for a reason. It's there for you to strive and to be able to evolve and achieve them, right? This is part of your learning. This is part of your journey here on this earth. But because these people are not aware and awakened to their spiritual nature and their connection to the infinite source of all things, they don't know that they can use energetic and spiritual principles to shift their energy and birth whatever it is that they desire to create in this physical realm. They don't know that they can do that. So they are operating from their limitations because their mind is only able to perceive from a physical perspective. And they try and they strive and they force, and usually they fail because they're not in the energetic state to actually receive whatever it is that they're striving for. And then they get discouraged, and it just becomes sort of like a vicious cycle of discouragement for them. So yeah, this is essentially what it is. When you're living in 3D, there's always going to be limitations. Things will never really be all the way right for you because you can only create from whatever programs you have. So if you don't know how to shift your programs, if you don't know how to change your subconscious beliefs, if you do not know how to change your energetic state in order to produce a new result for yourself in your physical reality, you're only going to be able to create from your limitations. And what a lot of these people try to do, like I said, is they try to force their way in the physical or manipulate their way in the physical to get the outcome that they want. And you will see a lot of people doing this. They kind of try to force their way into getting things, and you can get things in the 3D, doing that. But what you'll find is that those things that they obtain, it's not even all the way right, because the energy wasn't really correct from what they were creating from. The energy that they were creating from wasn't really there for them to have the thing that they were trying to have. So it's not really all the way right. There's kind of like something missing. You see this a lot in people's relationships, even with jobs too, like some people, you will have a desire for a certain type of job that you want to have. And then you may get the job, but then you find that the job isn't actually everything that you wanted because maybe you have a horrible manager or you have terrible coworkers or the hours suck or just something is not all the way right with the job, And so what it is you are manifesting from a state of your limitations, subconsciously and energetically. This is what is happening to you. But yeah, once you ascend into the 5th dimension, though, where you develop this new sense of awareness of your infinite spiritual nature, you begin to understand that all of the things in your life that never really worked out for you the way that you wanted them to, or, the one thing that you were really, really striving for that just didn't seem to work out. This is usually what propels people into the 5th dimension. I know this was true for me. You understand now that you were actually just hitting your own limitations of belief is what was going on. You couldn't get that thing. You couldn't achieve that thing because you didn't have the programs to run it. And you were operating from an energetic state that was not compatible with what you were trying to manifest or what you were trying to do or trying to have. So that's why you couldn't have it. And so the lesson then becomes, okay, how do I shift myself energetically in order to become a vibrational match for whatever it is that I want to experience or obtain or whatever? And it's through that process that you sort of learn how to master your spirituality, and using it in the physical realm. And then you manifest whatever it is that you want. You birth whatever it is that you want, because at that point, you have overcome all of your limitations of the mind. Do you see what I'm saying? So 3D limitations, 5D limitlessness. You understand that if you're not experiencing something in your reality, If things are not working out the way that you want them to, if things are not feeling effortless for you, if you constantly are feeling like you have to strive and force and try and chase and everything is so hard, it's because you're operating from a place of limitation and you're trying to strive in the physical beyond those energetic limitations, and it's not working for you. Once you get to 5D, you understand, I just have to shift my energy. I just have to work on my subconscious beliefs. I have to get my mind to the place where I 100% know what it is that I want to create will unfold for me. And that is when you reach the state of limitlessness and everything becomes possible for you. Life begins to work so much easier for you, and things just kind of align for you in the most seamless way because you are working now from a place of energy. We're not doing things in the physical. We're not trying anymore. We are just being. And because of who we are being energetically, the reality around us shifts to conform to that. So I will leave it there. This is going to be part 2 of my series on 3D versus 5D. I have more videos planned for this as well. If you have any questions or need clarification, please feel free to send me an email or write in the comments if the platform you are listening to this on allows you to do that. Otherwise, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you guys in the next episode.